Good evening. Tonight, we travel back more than 3,000 years to a world of quiet rivers, golden fields, and peaceful village life. A world without cars, without electricity, without alarms. A world where life moves with the sun and the seasons and the gentle rhythm of the Nile. So find a comfortable position. Allow your eyes to relax. And let your imagination drift slowly into ancient Egypt. The night is still holding on. The stars remain bright above the Nile Valley. The world is quiet. Very quiet. Only the soft sound of water can be heard. The Nile flows steadily through the darkness, just as it has for thousands of years. Its surface reflects the moonlight, turning the river into a ribbon of silver. A cool breeze moves gently across the water. It carries the scent of wet earth. Palm trees sway softly in the distance. The leaves whisper to one another, almost like quiet voices in the dark. You are an Egyptian farmer. Your name is Hori. You live in a small farming village beside the Nile. Your home is simple. Its walls are made of mud brick. Its roof is built from reeds and wooden beams. The house is cool and comfortable, especially during the night. Inside, your family sleeps peacefully. A small oil lamp has long since burned out. Darkness fills the room. Only moonlight enters through a tiny opening near the roof. The pale light rests quietly on the floor. Everything is calm. Everything is still. Long before sunrise, your eyes slowly open. Not because of an alarm. Not because of noise. But because your body knows the rhythm of the land. For generations, farmers have risen before dawn. The cool hours of morning are precious. Work must begin before the heat arrives. You sit up slowly. The room remains silent. Nearby, your youngest child sleeps soundly. A gentle breeze enters through the window opening. The air feels fresh, comfortable, peaceful. Outside, the village is still asleep. No voices. No movement. Only the distant sound of the river. You step outside your home. The ground feels cool beneath your feet. Above you stretches a sky filled with stars. Thousands of stars. Brighter than most people in the modern world have ever seen. There are no city lights here. No glowing buildings. No street lamps. Only darkness and starlight. The Milky Way stretches across the heavens, like a pale river flowing through the sky. Ancient Egyptians often gaze upward in wonder. The stars seem eternal, unchanging, mysterious. Far to the east, a faint glow begins to appear. The first hint of dawn. The first sign that night is ending. You walk slowly toward the riverbank. The path is familiar. You have walked it thousands of times. The Nile comes into view. Wide. Silent. Majestic. The water moves steadily toward the north. Never stopping. Never resting. Always moving. Always flowing. For the people of Egypt, the Nile is life itself. Without it, there would be no farms, no villages, no cities, only desert. Endless desert. You kneel beside the water. The river reflects the fading stars. Tiny ripples move across its surface. A fish briefly breaks the water, then disappears again. Somewhere among the reeds, a bird calls softly. The sound echoes through the quiet morning air. Another bird answers. Then another. Slowly, the natural world begins to wake. The eastern horizon grows brighter. Deep blue becomes pale blue. Pale blue becomes gold. The sun has not yet appeared, but its arrival is close. Ancient Egyptians view sunrise as a sacred moment. Each dawn represents renewal. A fresh beginning. Another victory of light over darkness. Another chance to live. To work. To learn. To grow. You watch quietly. There is no hurry. No schedule demanding your attention. Only the beauty of the morning. Only the peaceful rhythm of nature. The first edge of the sun finally appears. Golden light spreads across the Nile. The water begins to sparkle. Palm trees glow softly. The entire valley slowly awakens. A new day has begun in ancient Egypt. And beside the timeless Nile, the life of a farmer begins once again. The first light of dawn spreads gently across the Nile Valley. The stars fade one by one. The sky changes from deep blue to soft gold. A new day is beginning. And all across the village, people slowly wake. Not suddenly. Not with alarms. But naturally. As they have for countless generations. The rhythm of life here follows the rhythm of the sun. And today begins just as yesterday did. Quietly. Peacefully. Patiently. You leave the riverbank and begin walking back toward your home. The village is slowly coming to life. A donkey shifts in its shelter. A rooster calls somewhere in the distance. A dog stretches and settles back down. The sounds are gentle. Nothing feels rushed. The entire village seems to awaken one breath at a time. As you approach your home, a familiar sound reaches your ears. A slow scraping noise. Stone against stone. Steady. Rhythmic. Comforting. Your wife has already begun preparing the morning bread. Inside the house, she kneels beside a large grinding stone. A pile of grain rests nearby. Carefully, she pushes the upper stone back and forth, turning grain into flour. The process requires patience. There is no machine to do the work. Only strength, skill, and time. The sound fills the room. Scrape. Pause. Scrape. Pause. Again and again. The rhythm is almost hypnotic. Many Egyptian children grow up listening to this sound every morning. It becomes part of life, part of memory, part of home. A small basket nearby contains barley and emmer wheat. These grains are among the most important crops in ancient Egypt. Farmers spend months growing them, watching them, protecting them, and now they become food. The transformation feels almost magical. Tiny seeds planted in rich black soil become bread that sustains entire families. As the flour begins to collect, the room fills with the faint scent of fresh grain. It is subtle, warm, earthy, pleasant. The scent reminds you of harvest season, of golden fields swaying beneath the sun, of long days spent working beside neighbors. Every loaf of bread carries the memory of those fields. Nearby, your oldest child has awakened. Still sleepy. Still rubbing tired eyes. But already curious about breakfast. Children in every age seem to possess the same remarkable ability. They always know when food is being prepared. The child sits quietly and watches. Learning. Observing. Absorbing knowledge. In ancient Egypt, many lessons happen this way. Not in classrooms. Not from books. But through daily life. Children learn by watching adults. Day after day. Year after year. The flour is finally ready. Your wife pours it carefully into a large clay bowl. Water is added. A pinch of salt. Then comes the mixing. Slowly the ingredients combine. A soft dough begins to form. Strong hands knead the mixture patiently. Folding. Pressing. Turning. Repeating. The motion is smooth and practiced. The result of many years of experience. Outside, the sky grows brighter. Golden sunlight touches the rooftops of the village. Long shadows stretch across the ground. Birds become more active. Their songs drift through the morning air. The day feels fresh, full of possibility. The dough is divided into small portions. Each piece is shaped carefully, round and simple, ready for baking. Outside the house stands a clay oven. Its walls have already absorbed heat from burning reeds and dried plant material. A faint warmth radiates from its surface. The fire crackles softly. Tiny sparks rise into the cool morning air. One by one, the dough is placed inside. The oven begins its quiet work. The smell arrives gradually. At first it is barely noticeable. Then stronger. Then impossible to ignore. Fresh bread. Warm bread. One of the most comforting smells in human history. Throughout the village, similar scenes unfold. Nearly every household prepares breakfast. Smoke rises from dozens of ovens. Thin gray columns drift toward the sky. The scent of baking bread spreads across the community, blending with the smell of river water and damp earth. The entire village smells alive. You step outside and take a deep breath. The morning air feels wonderful. Cool. Fresh. Filled with familiar scents. Nearby, neighbors greet one another. A few exchange friendly words. Others simply nod and smile. Everyone knows one another here. The village is small, and life is shared. As the bread bakes, attention turns to another important food. Beer. Ancient Egyptian beer is very different from modern beer. It is thick, nutritious, rich in grains. For many people, it serves almost as a liquid meal. Large clay jars stand inside homes throughout the village. Stored carefully. Protected from heat. Ready for daily use. Breakfast in ancient Egypt is simple. But simplicity does not mean hardship. There is comfort in familiar routines. Comfort in reliable food. Comfort in knowing that another day begins with the same reassuring traditions. Soon the bread is ready. Golden brown. Warm from the oven. Steam rises gently from its surface. Your family gathers together. Sitting on woven mats. Sharing the first meal of the day. The atmosphere is calm. Relaxed. Peaceful. You tear off a piece of fresh bread. The crust is slightly firm. The inside is soft. Warm. The flavor is simple, yet deeply satisfying. Sometimes the best meals are not the most elaborate. They are simply the ones shared with family. Outside, the village grows busier. More people emerge from their homes. Donkeys are prepared for work. Tools are gathered. Voices fill the air. The working day is approaching. Soon the fields will call. Soon the canals will need attention. Soon the endless cycle of farming will continue. But not quite yet. For a few precious moments, breakfast continues. The sun rises higher. Golden light enters the doorway. Children laugh softly. Parents exchange quiet conversation. The bread basket slowly empties. The day stretches ahead. Full of responsibilities. Yet also full of opportunities. You finish the final piece of bread and stand. The time for work has arrived. Outside, the Nile glitters beneath the morning sun. The fields wait patiently beyond the village. And with steady footsteps, you prepare to begin another ordinary day beside the river that gives life to all of Egypt. Breakfast has ended. The last crumbs of fresh bread have disappeared from the woven basket. The morning sun climbs a little higher into the sky. Its golden light spreads across the village. The day has fully begun. Around you, the sounds of work slowly replace the quiet sounds of dawn. Doors open. Footsteps appear on dusty pathways. Voices drift through the cool morning air. Yet even now, nothing feels hurried. Nothing feels rushed. Life beside the Nile follows a slower rhythm. A gentler rhythm. One that has remained largely unchanged for centuries. You step outside your mud brick home. The warmth of the sun touches your face. The air still carries some of the coolness of night. Soon that coolness will disappear. By midday, the Egyptian sun will dominate the sky. But for now, the morning remains pleasant, comfortable, inviting. Nearby, a donkey waits patiently beside a small wooden cart. Its ears twitch occasionally. Its dark eyes observe the village with quiet curiosity. A farmer loads baskets into the cart. Another adjusts a rope. The donkey remains calm, patient, almost sleepy. Animals, like people, understand the familiar routines of daily life. You pick up your tools. A simple wooden hoe. A woven basket. A length of rope. Nothing elaborate. Nothing expensive. Yet these humble tools help feed families and sustain an entire civilization. Many generations before you carried similar tools. And many generations after you will do the same. The path leading toward the fields begins just beyond the village. Its surface is worn smooth by countless footsteps. Every day, dozens of farmers travel this route. Morning after morning. Year after year. The pathway itself feels like part of the landscape. As natural as the river. As familiar as the sunrise. You begin walking. The village slowly falls behind. Ahead lies a patchwork of fertile fields. Green crops. Irrigation canals. Palm trees. And beyond all of them, the endless desert. The contrast is remarkable. On one side, life flourishes. On the other, dry sand stretches toward the horizon. The Nile creates this miracle. Without it, there would be no fertile valley. No farms. No villages. No Egypt. As you walk, the sounds of nature grow stronger. Birds sing from the reeds. Their calls echo softly across the fields. A flock rises suddenly into the sky. Hundreds of wings beating together. For a moment, they form a moving cloud above the river. Then they disappear into the distance. The Nile glimmers nearby. Its waters catch the morning sunlight, turning silver into gold. The river moves steadily northward. Patiently. Endlessly. Ancient Egyptians often view the Nile with deep respect. And it is easy to understand why. Every meal. Every harvest. Every village. Every life depends upon this river. A gentle breeze arrives from the water. It carries the scent of wet earth, fresh vegetation, and growing crops. The smell is clean, natural, comforting. For farmers, it is the smell of opportunity, the smell of another productive day. Along the path, you encounter other villagers making the same journey. Some walk alone. Others travel in small groups. Conversations remain quiet, easy, unforced. There is no need for excitement. These people know one another well. They have shared many harvests together, many floods, many seasons. An elderly farmer walks slowly beside you for a while. His face is lined by years spent beneath the Egyptian sun. His hands show the marks of decades of work. Yet his movements remain steady, confident, experienced. He has seen countless planting seasons, countless harvests, countless sunrises over the Nile. His wisdom is respected throughout the village. Together, you walk in comfortable silence. Sometimes the most peaceful companionship requires no words at all. Only shared experience, shared purpose, and shared appreciation for the beauty of the morning. The path eventually leads through a grove of date palms. Their tall trunks rise toward the sky. Their leaves sway gently overhead. The shade feels pleasant. Sunlight filters through the branches, creating shifting patterns across the ground. For a few moments, the world seems wrapped in green and gold. Date palms are among the most useful trees in Egypt. Their fruit provides food. Their leaves provide material for baskets and roofing. Even their trunks have practical uses. Every part of the tree contributes something valuable. Ancient Egyptians waste very little. Resources are precious, and nature's gifts are respected. Leaving the grove behind, you continue toward the fields. The landscape opens before you. Rows of crops stretch into the distance. Their leaves glow beneath the morning sun. Small irrigation canals weave between them like narrow rivers. Water moves quietly through each channel, bringing life wherever it goes. Several farmers have already arrived. Some inspect the crops. Others examine canal walls. A few prepare animals for plowing. The day is beginning slowly, methodically, just as it always does. You pause for a moment before starting work. The view is beautiful. The Nile sparkles nearby. Palm trees sway gently. Birds circle overhead. The fertile fields spread across the valley floor. Beyond them rises the golden desert, a reminder of how precious this land truly is. The contrast between life and desert feels almost symbolic. The Nile creates a narrow ribbon of abundance surrounded by vast wilderness. Every crop grown here is a small victory. Every harvest is a gift. Every successful season is a reason for gratitude. The sun continues climbing. The coolness of morning begins fading. Farmers know that work must begin soon. The best hours of the day are passing. Yet there is still time for one more moment of quiet observation. One more deep breath. One more glance across the valley. You look toward the river. Its waters shimmer beneath the brightening sky. The same river flowed here long before your birth. It will continue flowing long after your lifetime ends. Generations come and go. Villages rise and fall. Yet the Nile remains. Steady. Reliable. Eternal. Finally, you step into the field. The soil feels soft beneath your sandals. Rich black earth left behind by the annual flood. The earth that feeds families. The earth that supports kingdoms. The earth that makes life possible. The workday is about to begin. The irrigation canals await inspection. The crops require attention. The animals must be guided. There is much to do. Yet there is no stress. No panic. Only the quiet certainty of daily labor. The same labor performed by countless farmers before you. The same labor that will continue for generations to come. And as the golden morning spreads across ancient Egypt, and the Nile glitters beside the fertile fields, another peaceful day of farming begins. The morning sun continues its slow climb into the sky. Its golden light spreads across the fertile lands beside the Nile. The cool air of dawn is beginning to fade. Soon the warmth of the day will settle across the valley. But for now, the conditions are perfect for work. The fields are quiet. The crops shimmer gently in the breeze. And beside them, the irrigation canals carry life-giving water through the land. You stand at the edge of a narrow canal. The water moves slowly, steadily, patiently. The surface reflects the sky above. Small ripples drift across the channel. Tiny insects dance above the water. A dragonfly lands briefly on a reed, then lifts away again. Everything feels calm, almost timeless. To an outsider, this canal might seem ordinary. A simple ditch carrying water. But to the farmers of ancient Egypt, it is one of the most important features of the landscape. Without these canals, farming would be impossible. The Nile provides water. But the canals distribute it. They carry life from the river to the fields. They transform fertile soil into productive farmland. They make villages possible. They make civilization possible. You begin walking alongside the canal. Its banks are lined with rich black earth. The soil is still damp from recent watering. Small plants grow close to the edge. Their leaves sparkle with moisture. The sight is reassuring. Healthy plants mean healthy harvests. Healthy harvests mean food for the coming months. Nearby, another farmer kneels beside the canal. He studies the flow carefully. His experienced eyes notice details others might miss. A slight blockage. A weak section of bank. A place where water is escaping. These small problems must be corrected quickly. A neglected canal can cause serious difficulties later. The farmer picks up a wooden tool. Slowly he removes a collection of reeds and debris. The water immediately begins flowing more freely. The difference is small, but important. Ancient farming often depends upon tiny adjustments, tiny improvements, tiny acts of maintenance performed day after day. You continue your inspection. The canal stretches through the fields like a blue ribbon. Occasionally it branches, creating smaller channels that deliver water to different areas. The design is simple, yet remarkably effective. Generations of farmers have improved these systems, learning from experience, passing knowledge from parent to child. The sound of moving water accompanies you wherever you go. Soft, gentle, relaxing. There is something naturally soothing about flowing water. Perhaps that is why many people find rivers peaceful. The steady movement creates a sense of calm, a sense of continuity, a reminder that life continues forward. One day at a time, one season at a time. A group of farmers gathers near a larger canal junction. Here several channels meet. Water must be directed carefully. Too much water in one field can damage crops. Too little can leave plants thirsty. Balance is essential. The farmers discuss the situation quietly, respectfully. Everyone understands the importance of cooperation. No single farmer controls the water. The entire community depends upon fair management. One man uses a wooden barrier to redirect the flow. Slowly the water changes course, moving toward a field that requires additional moisture. The process is surprisingly precise. Simple tools, simple methods, yet highly effective. You watch the water spread across the field. The soil absorbs it eagerly. Dark earth becomes darker still. Tiny streams move between rows of crops, bringing nourishment to every plant. The scene is strangely satisfying, almost hypnotic. The steady movement, the gentle sounds, the predictable rhythm. As the morning progresses, the sun grows brighter. Birds continue flying between the reeds. A white egret lands near the water, standing perfectly still, watching for fish. Its reflection appears on the canal's surface. For several moments, bird and reflection seem identical. Then the bird strikes suddenly. A quick movement. A successful catch. And stillness returns once again. Nature and farming exist side by side here. The canals support crops, but they also support wildlife. Fish, birds, frogs, insects. All depend upon the water. The entire valley feels connected. Every living thing linked by the river. Further along the canal stands one of the most useful tools in ancient Egypt. A shaduf. The wooden structure rises beside the water. Simple. Elegant. Practical. A long pole balances on a support beam. A bucket hangs from one end. A heavy counterweight hangs from the other. An older farmer operates the device. His movements are slow and practiced. He lowers the bucket into the canal. Water fills it. The counterweight helps lift the load. Then he pours the water into a higher channel. Again. And again. And again. The motion becomes rhythmic. Almost meditative. Lift. Pour. Lower. Repeat. Lift. Pour. Lower. Repeat. The pattern continues endlessly. The farmer does not seem bored or frustrated. This work is simply part of life. A familiar task repeated countless times over the years. You pause and watch for several minutes. The repetitive movement feels strangely relaxing. The creak of wood. The splash of water. The rustle of nearby reeds. Together they create a peaceful soundtrack. A soundtrack heard by Egyptian farmers for centuries. The morning slowly advances. The shadows shorten. The sunlight grows stronger. Workers move steadily through the fields. Each person focused on a different responsibility, yet all contributing toward the same goal. A successful harvest. A healthy community. A prosperous future. You kneel beside the canal once more. The water is cool against your fingers. Refreshing. Comforting. Essential. It is easy to understand why ancient Egyptians view the Nile with such respect. Everything begins here. Everything depends upon it. The river feeds the canals. The canals feed the fields. The fields feed the people. And the people build the civilization. A breeze drifts across the valley. Palm leaves sway gently. The water sparkles beneath the sun. For a moment, there is no work. No responsibility. Only the peaceful beauty of the landscape. The quiet movement of water through ancient Egypt. Soon, however, attention must turn elsewhere. The crops themselves require inspection. Young plants are growing rapidly. Some fields are thriving. Others need additional care. The work of a farmer is never truly finished. There is always another task. Another responsibility. Another season approaching. You rise slowly and take one final look at the canal. The water continues flowing. Steady. Reliable. Unchanging. A silent partner in every harvest. A constant companion throughout life beside the Nile. And as the sun climbs higher into the Egyptian sky, And the irrigation canals continue carrying life through the fields. Another peaceful chapter of the farmer's day unfolds. The irrigation canals continue their quiet work. Water flows gently through the fertile valley. The morning sun shines brightly overhead. Birds glide above the fields. Palm trees sway in the distance. And across the rich black soil of Egypt, the season of planting has arrived. For a farmer, this is one of the most important moments of the year. A time filled with hope. A time filled with possibility. A time when the future begins as a handful of tiny seeds. You stand at the edge of a freshly prepared field. The earth beneath your feet is dark and soft. Only a few months ago, this land lay beneath the waters of the Nile flood. Now the floodwaters have retreated, leaving behind rich layers of fertile mud. The soil feels cool, smooth, perfect for growing crops. This is the gift of the Nile. The gift that has sustained Egypt for thousands of years. The morning air carries the scent of damp earth. It is a smell every farmer knows well. A smell associated with beginnings. A smell associated with growth. A smell associated with hope. You take a slow breath. The field stretches before you. Waiting. Silent. Ready. Nearby, other farmers gather with baskets of seed. The village works together during planting season. Everyone understands the importance of the task. The sooner the seeds enter the ground, the sooner they can begin growing. And the sooner they grow, the sooner they can provide food for families. Several oxen move slowly across the field. Their broad shoulders glisten beneath the morning sunlight. A wooden plow follows behind them. The tool is simple, yet effective. Its blade cuts shallow furrows through the soil, preparing rows for planting. The animals move steadily, patiently. Their pace never changes. Step after step, row after row. You watch the plow move through the earth. Fresh soil turns over. Small clumps break apart. The scent of earth grows stronger. The field gradually transforms. What was once a smooth surface becomes a carefully prepared planting ground. As the oxen continue their work, farmers follow behind carrying seed baskets. Each basket contains the promise of future harvests. Barley, emmer wheat, flax, and other crops important to Egyptian life. The seeds appear small, almost insignificant. Yet each one contains enormous potential. Given time, water, and sunlight, they will become fields of grain, bread, beer, clothing, life itself. You reach into your basket and scatter seeds across the prepared soil. Your movements are slow and practiced. The seeds fall in a gentle arc, landing softly upon the earth. Again, and again, and again. The action becomes rhythmic. almost meditative. Scatter. Step. Scatter. Step. Scatter. Step. The pattern repeats. The sounds remain quiet. Only birds, the breeze, and the occasional snort of an ox. The entire valley seems peaceful, focused, purposeful. As the morning progresses, sunlight grows stronger. The sky above is perfectly clear, deep blue from horizon to horizon. A few wisps of cloud drift lazily overhead. Their shadows move slowly across the fields. Nearby, children help where they can. They are too young for the hardest work. But they carry water, fetch tools, and observe carefully. One day they too will become farmers. One day these fields will depend upon them. The lessons begin early. An older farmer pauses beside a young boy. He points toward the soil, explaining something quietly. Perhaps how deeply seeds should be planted. Perhaps how to recognize healthy earth. Perhaps how to predict weather conditions. Knowledge passes from one generation to the next. Not through books. Not through classrooms. But through conversation and experience. The morning breeze continues moving across the valley. It rustles the reeds near the canals. It cools the skin. It carries the distant scent of the Nile. For a moment, you stop working and simply listen. The sounds of planting season surround you. The creak of wooden tools. The footsteps of farmers. The calls of birds. The gentle movement of water. Together they create a peaceful symphony. A soundtrack heard by Egyptians for countless generations. By mid-morning, much of the field has been planted. The soil now holds thousands upon thousands of seeds, invisible beneath the surface. Waiting, resting, preparing. The field appears unchanged from a distance. Yet everything is different. The future harvest already exists, hidden below the earth. A farmer nearby kneels and picks up a handful of soil. He rubs it between his fingers, testing its moisture, studying its texture. Experienced farmers know their land intimately. They notice subtle details. Details others might overlook. A slight change in color. A different texture. A new scent after rain. Years of observation create wisdom. As the sun climbs higher, the warmth increases. The workers continue steadily. No one rushes. Farming is not a race. Nature cannot be hurried. Seeds grow at their own pace. Plants mature in their own time. Patience is one of the most valuable skills a farmer can possess. Ancient Egyptians understand this lesson well. The Nile teaches patience. The seasons teach patience. Life itself teaches patience. Everything important requires time. The crops, The harvest. The growth of children. Even civilizations grow slowly. One season at a time. One generation at a time. Near midday, a flock of birds lands at the far edge of the field. Immediately several children run toward them, laughing, waving their arms. The birds rise into the air once more. Their wings flash white against the blue sky. For a moment, everyone watches. Even the adults smile. Small moments like these bring joy to ordinary days. The planting continues. Field after field. Row after row. The village works together. Sharing tools. Sharing knowledge. Sharing responsibility. The success of one family benefits everyone. A strong harvest means a strong community. Eventually, the final seeds are scattered. The last rows are completed. The baskets grow lighter. The work slows. Farmers stand and stretch, looking across the newly planted land. The sight is satisfying. The field appears peaceful, orderly, full of potential. Now comes the waiting. Perhaps the hardest part. The seeds have been planted. The work has been done. Nature must take over. Water will nourish the soil. Sunlight will warm the earth. Time will perform the rest. You gaze across the valley. The Nile glimmers in the distance. Its waters continue flowing toward the sea. The irrigation canals continue their quiet work. The seeds rest safely beneath the soil. Everything is in place. Everything is ready. The future harvest cannot yet be seen. But it has already begun. Beneath the rich black earth of Egypt. Beneath the warmth of the sun. Beneath the endless blue sky. New life is quietly awakening. And the timeless cycle of farming continues once again. The seeds now rest beneath the soil, hidden from sight, protected by the earth, waiting patiently for the right conditions to grow. For a while, life in the village follows its familiar rhythm. The sun rises. The sun sets. Farmers tend their fields. Children play beside the river. Boats drift along the Nile. Everything feels steady, predictable, peaceful. Yet everyone knows that the most important event of the year is approaching. The great flood of the Nile. The event upon which all life in Egypt depends. To people living far away, a flood might sound frightening. A disaster. Something to fear. But for ancient Egyptians, the annual flood is very different. The flood is not an enemy. It is a blessing. A gift. A source of life. Without it, the land would dry. The crops would fail. The villages would struggle. The entire kingdom would suffer. Every farmer understands this truth. Every child grows up hearing it. The Nile gives life. And the flood is the river's greatest gift. The first signs are subtle, almost impossible for strangers to notice. But experienced farmers pay close attention. They observe the water level, the color of the river, the speed of the current. Tiny changes begin appearing. The river slowly rises. Not dramatically. Not suddenly. Just a little more each day. A little more each week. One morning, you stand beside the riverbank and notice the difference. The water has climbed higher against the reeds. Small patches of shoreline have disappeared. The current feels stronger, more confident. The Nile is beginning its transformation. Its annual journey is underway. Ancient Egyptians do not fully understand where the flood begins. They know it comes from far to the south. Beyond distant lands few villagers will ever see. Today we know that heavy seasonal rains far upstream caused the river to swell. But to the people of ancient Egypt, the flood feels mysterious. Almost magical. A miracle repeated every year. A gift from the gods. As the days pass, excitement grows throughout the village. People discuss the rising waters. They compare observations, share predictions, and remember previous floods. Older villagers often tell stories. Some floods were small. Others were enormous. Some brought exceptional harvests. Others caused challenges. No 2 years are exactly alike. The Nile continues rising. Slowly at first. Then more noticeably. Fields closest to the river begin disappearing beneath shallow water. The transformation is remarkable. Land becomes water. Paths vanish. The familiar landscape changes shape. The valley seems to breathe, expanding and shifting, responding to the river's power. You walk to a small hill overlooking the floodplain. From there, the view is breathtaking. The rising water stretches across the valley. Sunlight reflects from its surface, turning the landscape into a sea of gold and silver. Palm trees rise like islands. Their reflections shimmer below. Birds glide low across the water. Everything feels calm, beautiful, almost dreamlike. The flood does not arrive with violence. Not here. Not this year. Instead, it spreads gradually, patiently. The water enters low areas first, then larger sections of farmland, then wide open spaces. Everywhere it goes, it carries rich black silt. Tiny particles of fertile soil gathered from distant lands far upstream. This is the true treasure of the flood. Not the water itself, but what the water leaves behind. You kneel beside the edge of the floodwater. The surface ripples gently. Tiny fish swim through newly flooded areas. Birds gather to feed. The ecosystem comes alive. The flood transforms not only the land, but the lives of countless animals as well. Children are fascinated by the changing landscape. To them, the flood feels almost magical. Places that were dry only weeks ago now sparkle beneath the sun. Temporary pools appear. New waterways form. The familiar world becomes something entirely different. Many spend hours watching the transformation, exploring safely under the watchful eyes of adults. Throughout the village, people remain busy. Boats become increasingly important. Travel across flooded areas is often easier by water than by foot. Small wooden vessels glide between communities, carrying people, food, tools, news. The flood changes transportation just as it changes everything else. One evening, you stand beside the river as the sun begins to set. The flooded valley glows beneath golden light. The water reflects the sky perfectly. For a moment, it becomes difficult to distinguish where earth ends and heaven begins. The beauty is overwhelming. Silent. Peaceful. Timeless. Nearby, an elderly villager watches the scene with you. He has witnessed many floods throughout his life. More than 50. Perhaps 60. Yet he never seems tired of the sight. Every year brings the same quiet wonder. The same appreciation. The same gratitude. Some experiences never lose their magic. The flood reaches its highest point several weeks later. The Nile now dominates the landscape. The fertile valley appears transformed into a vast inland sea. Only higher ground remains visible. Villages rise above the water like small islands, connected by boats and waterways. It is a completely different world from the one you knew a few months ago. And yet, no one worries. No one panics. Because this transformation is expected, welcomed, celebrated. The flood is doing exactly what it has done for thousands of years, preparing the land for another cycle of life. As the weeks pass, the river eventually begins to retreat. Slowly, patiently, just as it arrived. The water level drops little by little. The flooded lands gradually reappear. Fields emerge from beneath the water. Paths return. The familiar landscape begins taking shape once more. But now everything is different. A fresh layer of rich black silt covers the valley. The soil looks darker, richer, more fertile. The flood has renewed the land, just as it renews Egypt every year. You walk across one of the newly exposed fields. The earth feels soft beneath your sandals, almost velvety. Everywhere you look, the signs of renewal are visible. The coming planting season promises abundance. The flood has been generous. And generous floods often lead to generous harvests. The villagers understand this. They smile more easily. They speak optimistically about the future. Hope spreads through the community. Not because of luck. Not because of chance. But because the Nile has once again fulfilled its promise. As evening approaches, you stand beside the river one last time. The water flows quietly toward the north. Its annual work nearly complete. The valley has been renewed. The fields have been refreshed. Life can continue. Another year can begin. The sun sinks below the western horizon. The sky turns orange. Then crimson. Then deep purple. The first stars appear. Their reflections shimmer upon the river's surface. And beneath the peaceful night sky of ancient Egypt, the timeless cycle of the Nile continues once again. The floodwaters have retreated. The fields are once again visible beneath the Egyptian sun. Fresh black soil covers the land. Farmers prepare for another season of planting. Life continues. Just as it always has. But tonight, as we continue our gentle journey through ancient Egypt, let us step away from the fields for a while. Let us return to an earlier time. A time before responsibilities. Before long days of labor. Before harvests and taxes. A time when the world seemed larger, more mysterious, and full of endless possibilities. Let us remember what it was like to grow up beside the Nile. Long ago, before you became a farmer, before you carried tools into the fields each morning, you were simply a child in a small village. A child who woke to the sound of birds. A child who chased dragonflies through the reeds. A child who viewed the Nile not as a source of irrigation, but as a place of wonder. The village looked much the same then. The same mud brick houses. The same palm trees. The same river. Yet everything felt different through the eyes of a child. The mornings often began with sunlight entering through small openings in the walls. Warm golden light stretched across the floor. Dust particles drifted lazily through the air. Outside, the village slowly awakened. Voices drifted through the morning breeze. Animals stirred. Birds called from nearby trees. The entire world seemed to come alive one sound at a time. As a child, mornings felt full of possibility. Every day offered something new to discover. Even familiar places seemed exciting. A pathway explored 100 times could still reveal something unexpected. A feather. An unusual stone. A bird's nest hidden among the reeds. The world rewarded curiosity. And children possessed plenty of curiosity. After breakfast, groups of children often gathered together. Barefoot and energetic. They raced through village pathways. Laughing. Talking. Inventing games. There were no televisions. No phones. No electronic distractions. Entertainment came from imagination. And imagination was never in short supply. One favorite destination was the riverbank. The Nile fascinated children. Its constant movement. its changing appearance, its endless supply of fish and birds. The river always seemed alive, always changing, always offering something new to observe. Many children built small boats from reeds, simple creations tied together with careful hands. The boats were tiny, fragile, yet they felt magnificent. To the children who built them, they were grand vessels sailing toward distant lands. Adventures began with a small push into the current. Then came the race. Whose boat would travel farthest? Whose boat would survive the longest? The competition was friendly, the excitement genuine. Hours could disappear beside the river, watching the water, watching birds, watching clouds drift overhead. Children often notice details adults overlook. The shape of a cloud, the movement of an insect, the reflection of sunlight upon water. Simple things become fascinating when viewed with fresh eyes. During the hottest part of the day, children often sought shade beneath palm trees. The broad leaves provided shelter from the sun. There they listened to stories told by grandparents. Stories about the gods. Stories about the Nile. Stories about famous rulers and distant cities. The tales felt enormous, filled with mystery, filled with wonder. Some stories described mighty pharaohs. Others told of clever animals. Others explained why the Nile flooded each year. The details sometimes changed depending upon who told the story. But that hardly mattered. The joy came from listening, from imagining, from being transported somewhere else for a little while. Grandparents were especially valued in village life. They possessed something precious: experience, knowledge, memory. They remembered floods from long ago, harvests from decades earlier, events younger villagers had never witnessed. Their stories connected the past to the present, and children listened carefully, even when they seemed distracted, even when they appeared more interested in chasing lizards. The lessons often remained, quietly taking root. As children grew older, responsibilities gradually increased. Small chores appeared. Simple tasks at first. Fetching water, helping gather firewood, watching younger siblings, carrying messages. Nothing too difficult, nothing too demanding. Just enough to begin learning responsibility. Many children accompanied their parents into the fields, not to perform hard labor, but to observe, to learn, to understand the rhythms of farming. A father might explain how irrigation canals worked. A mother might demonstrate how grain became flour. Lessons emerged naturally from daily life. Every task became an opportunity to teach. Every experience became a classroom. The Nile itself was one of the greatest teachers. Children learned where fish gathered, where birds nested, Which plants were useful? Which areas were safe? The river rewarded attention. The more closely one observed, the more there was to discover. The seasons also taught lessons. The arrival of the flood. The retreat of the waters. The planting season. The harvest. Each phase of the year carried its own responsibilities. Its own beauty. Its own rhythm. Children absorbed these patterns almost without realizing it. Year after year. Season after season. Evenings often felt magical. Especially during childhood. The heat faded. The sky turned gold. Then orange. Then deep blue. Families gathered outside. Neighbors exchanged stories. The first stars appeared overhead. Children lay on woven mats and stared upward. The night sky seemed endless, filled with mysteries waiting to be explored. Without city lights, the stars shone brilliantly. The Milky Way stretched across the heavens, like a river of light. Ancient Egyptians often connected the stars with the gods. To a child, such ideas felt entirely reasonable. The night sky certainly seemed magical enough. Sometimes a shooting star crossed the darkness. A brief streak of light. Gone in an instant. Children pointed excitedly. Adults smiled. And for a few moments everyone watched the sky together, sharing the same sense of wonder. As the years passed, childhood slowly gave way to adulthood. Games became responsibilities. Curiosity became knowledge. The child who once launched reed boats into the river eventually learned to manage irrigation canals. The child who once listened to stories beneath palm trees eventually became the storyteller. This transition happened gradually. So gradually that it was often difficult to notice. Yet the memories remained. The laughter beside the river. The dragonflies among the reeds. The stories shared beneath the stars. The feeling of discovering the world for the first time. Those experiences stayed with you. Even now. Even as a grown farmer. And perhaps that is one of the quiet gifts of childhood. It teaches us how to see beauty in ordinary things. The movement of water. The song of a bird. The warmth of sunlight. The comfort of family. Lessons that remain valuable throughout life. The Nile continues flowing through the darkness. The village sleeps peacefully. And somewhere within your memories, a child still runs along the riverbank, chasing dragonflies beneath the endless Egyptian sky. The Nile flows quietly beneath the morning sun. The fields shimmer with fresh growth. Farmers continue their work across the fertile valley. At first glance, it might seem that farming is the center of everything. And in many ways, it is. Without the harvest, the village could not survive. Without the Nile, the harvest would never come. Yet a village is more than its fields. A village is a collection of skills. A collection of people. A collection of hands working together. And while farmers grow food, other craftsmen quietly shape the world around them. Tonight, let us leave the fields behind for a little while. Let us wander through the village pathways and meet the people whose work helps keep daily life running smoothly. The morning is still young. The air remains pleasantly cool. Sunlight washes across the mud brick homes. Palm trees cast long shadows over the dusty paths. As you walk through the village, the first sounds of craftsmanship begin to appear. A steady tapping. A soft scraping. The creak of wood. The gentle hum of daily work. Each sound tells a story. Each sound belongs to someone creating something useful. Near the center of the village stands the workshop of a potter. The potter rises early every day, long before the heat becomes uncomfortable. His work begins with clay. Simple clay gathered from the Nile. To most people, it looks ordinary. Just mud from the riverbank. Nothing special. Yet in the hands of a skilled potter, that mud becomes something entirely different. The potter sits beside a spinning wheel. The wheel turns slowly beneath his hands. A lump of wet clay rests at its center. At first it has no shape. No purpose. Only potential. Then the transformation begins. His fingers press gently against the spinning clay. Slowly. Patiently. The clay responds. Rising upward. Stretching. Changing. What was once a shapeless mass becomes a vessel. A bowl. A jar. A container for storing grain. A vessel for carrying water. Something useful. Something needed. The process appears almost magical. Children often gather nearby simply to watch. Their eyes follow every movement. They stare in fascination as ordinary clay becomes something beautiful. Something practical. Something lasting. The potter rarely speaks while working. His concentration is complete. Years of experience guide every motion. Every touch. Every adjustment. Around the workshop, finished pottery waits in neat rows. Some jars are enormous. Large enough to store grain for months. Others are small enough to fit comfortably in one hand. Each serves a different purpose. Each helps support daily life. Nearby, sunlight reflects from freshly fired pottery. The warm earth tones blend beautifully with the colors of the village. Golden brown. Soft red. Pale beige. Natural colors born from clay and fire. Simple. Timeless. Leaving the potter behind, you continue walking. Soon another sound reaches your ears. A rhythmic clicking. A steady back and forth motion. The sound of weaving. Inside a shaded workspace, several women sit beside wooden looms. Their hands move with remarkable precision. Thread crosses thread. Pattern follows pattern. Slowly fabric begins to appear. Ancient Egyptian linen is famous throughout the land. Soft, lightweight, comfortable in the hot climate. The linen begins its journey as flax growing in the fields. Farmers cultivate it carefully. After harvesting, the fibers are processed and spun into thread. Then skilled weavers transform those threads into cloth. The process requires patience. A great deal of patience. Yet the results are worth the effort. The loom produces a steady rhythm. Back and forth. Back and forth. The sound is calming. Almost hypnotic. Like the gentle movement of water. Or the rustling of palm leaves in the breeze. Many crafts possess their own unique music. And weaving is no exception. Bundles of finished cloth rest nearby. Some will become clothing. Others will be traded. Others will serve religious purposes. Every piece represents hours of careful work. Hours of concentration. Hours of skill. The village depends upon these weavers. Just as it depends upon farmers. Every profession contributes something valuable. Every craft supports the community in its own way. Further down the pathway, a group of builders is repairing a mud brick wall. The wall belongs to a family home damaged by seasonal weather. The repair process begins with fresh mud, mixed carefully with straw. The same technique used throughout Egypt for thousands of years. Several workers knead the mixture with their feet. The cool mud squeezes between their toes. Children nearby laugh at the sight. Adults smile. The work may not be glamorous, but it is important. Homes must be maintained. Walls must be repaired. Life continues because people care for what they have built. The builders place fresh mud brick into position, carefully aligning each piece, layer upon layer. The wall gradually regains its strength, its stability, its purpose. Watching them work is strangely satisfying. Every movement has meaning. Every action produces visible results. Unlike many modern tasks, the outcome is easy to see. A broken wall becomes a strong wall. Yet a meaningful one. Not far away, a carpenter shapes wood beneath a small shelter. Wood is precious in Egypt. Large forests are rare. Good timber is valuable. Because of this, carpenters use every piece carefully. Nothing is wasted. The carpenter smooths a wooden beam with patient strokes. Shavings fall gently to the ground. The scent of fresh wood fills the air. Warm, pleasant, earthy. A smell that feels both ancient and familiar. His workshop contains simple tools. A saw. A chisel. A mallet. Nothing elaborate. Yet remarkable things emerge from these tools. Furniture, doors, storage chests, boat components, objects both practical and beautiful. Throughout the village, craftsmanship continues. Quietly, steadily, without fanfare. Most craftsmen will never become famous. Their names will not be carved into monuments. They will not appear in royal records. Yet their contributions matter deeply. Every bowl, every woven cloth, every repaired wall, every wooden door. These objects shape daily life. They provide comfort, convenience, security. Without craftsmen, villages could not function. Without their skills, communities could not thrive. As afternoon approaches, sunlight brightens the village. The workshops remain busy. The sounds of creation continue. The turning wheel of the potter. The rhythm of the loom. The tap of a carpenter's tools. The murmur of builders at work. Together they create a gentle symphony of village life. You pause beneath the shade of a palm tree. Listening. Observing. Appreciating. The village seems alive with purpose. Every person contributing. Every skill valued. Every task important. And as the Nile continues flowing quietly beyond the fields, and the craftsmen continue shaping the world around them, another peaceful day unfolds in ancient Egypt. A day built not only by farmers, but by countless skilled hands working together beneath the endless Egyptian sky. The village awakens earlier than usual today. Even before the first rays of sunlight touch the Nile, there is a feeling in the air. A quiet excitement. A sense of anticipation. Today is market day. For many villagers, it is one of the most enjoyable days of the month. Not because it is a holiday. Not because work disappears. But because market day brings something different. Something unusual. Something that briefly connects the small village to the wider world of ancient Egypt. The stars still shine above the Nile Valley. Yet already lanterns flicker inside several homes. Families prepare baskets. Merchants organize goods. Farmers gather items they hope to trade. The village feels more awake than normal. More energetic. Yet still peaceful. The excitement remains gentle. Like the slow rising of the sun. You step outside and look toward the eastern horizon. A pale glow is beginning to appear. The first signs of dawn. Palm trees stand dark against the brightening sky. The air feels cool and pleasant. Perfect for travel. Perfect for a day at the market. Nearby, a farmer carefully loads baskets onto a donkey. The baskets contain onions, garlic, and several bundles of flax. Another villager carries pottery made by the local craftsman. A woman prepares folded linen cloth for trading. Everyone has something to contribute. Everyone hopes to return with something useful. As the sky grows brighter, small groups begin leaving the village. Some travel on foot. Others ride donkeys. A few make their journey by boat. The destination is a larger settlement several miles away along the Nile. A place where people from many villages gather together. A place filled with goods, stories, and opportunities. You decide to travel by river. The boat waits quietly at the shore. Its wooden hull reflects the soft light of dawn. The sail remains furled for now. The river is calm. Almost perfectly still. The surface mirrors the sky. You step aboard. The boat rocks gently beneath your feet. Several other villagers settle into their places. A rope is untied. A pole pushes against the riverbed. Slowly the boat drifts away from shore. The journey begins. The Nile at sunrise is breathtaking. Golden light spreads across the water. The first rays of the sun transform the river into liquid gold. Birds glide low above the surface. Fish occasionally disturb the reflections. The world feels peaceful. Fresh. New. As the boat moves downstream, other vessels appear. Some carry farmers. Others carry merchants. Some transport animals. A few contain travelers from distant communities. The river becomes increasingly busy. Yet it never feels crowded. Only alive. Active. Connected. For ancient Egyptians, the Nile is more than a river. It is a highway. A lifeline. A bridge connecting hundreds of communities. Without it, travel would be slow and difficult. With it, goods and ideas move freely throughout the kingdom. The journey continues. Palm groves pass slowly along the shoreline. Fields stretch toward the horizon. Small villages appear and disappear. Children wave from riverbanks. Fishermen check their nets. Life unfolds peacefully along the water. Eventually, the market settlement comes into view. Even from a distance, signs of activity are obvious. Boats line the shore. Voices drift across the water. People move between stalls and shelters. The entire area seems alive with energy. As your boat approaches the landing area, the sounds become clearer. Conversations. Laughter. Animals. Merchants calling out to customers. The atmosphere feels vibrant, yet welcoming. You step onto the shore and begin walking toward the market. Immediately your senses are surrounded by new sights and sounds. Everywhere you look, there is something interesting. Something unexpected. Something worth examining. Rows of stalls stretch across the open area. Each one displays different goods. Some sell food. Others sell tools. Others offer cloth, pottery, jewelry, or household items. The variety is remarkable, especially for villagers accustomed to seeing the same surroundings every day. One stall overflows with baskets of dates. Golden brown fruits piled high beneath woven shades. The sweet scent drifts through the air. Nearby, another merchant displays figs, fresh vegetables, and bundles of herbs gathered from fertile fields. Further along, a fisherman arranges his morning catch. Silver scales glimmer beneath the sunlight. Customers inspect the fish carefully, discussing quality, size, freshness. Negotiations begin, friendly and respectful. Ancient Egyptian markets are not silent places. Bargaining is expected. Conversations flow naturally. Prices are discussed. Trades are proposed. Agreements are reached. The process feels social as much as economic. A potter from another village displays beautifully decorated jars. Their painted surfaces catch the eye immediately. Nearby, a jeweler offers colorful beads crafted from stone and glass. Children pause to admire them. Adults do as well. Beauty has always attracted attention. No matter the century. The smells of the market create their own unique experience. Fresh bread, roasted fish, sweet dates, fragrant oils, herbs, spices. The scents blend together into a rich tapestry of aromas, each one telling its own story, each one reflecting a different aspect of Egyptian life. One merchant specializes in perfumes and scented oils. Small containers sit neatly arranged before him. Customers lean forward curiously. Some close their eyes while smelling the fragrances. The scents are exotic, interesting, different from the familiar smells of village life. For a moment, they transport the imagination elsewhere. Animals also contribute to the atmosphere. Donkeys stand patiently beside carts. Goats bleat occasionally. Chickens cluck from woven cages. A few cattle are led through the crowd. Their presence reminds everyone how important livestock remain to daily survival. The market is not only a place to exchange goods. It is also a place to exchange information. News travels quickly here. Perhaps a neighboring village enjoyed an exceptional harvest. Perhaps repairs are underway at a nearby temple. Perhaps a traveler brings stories from a distant city. Information spreads from person to person. Conversation to conversation. Like water flowing through a network of canals. You overhear discussions about river levels, about weather patterns, about family events, about upcoming festivals. Every conversation adds another thread to the fabric of community life. Children move through the market with wide eyes. Everything seems fascinating. Every stall contains treasures waiting to be discovered. A carved toy. A polished stone. A colorful bead. Even simple objects can feel magical when viewed through the eyes of a child. Hours pass pleasantly. The sun climbs higher into the sky. More visitors arrive. The market becomes busier. Yet the atmosphere remains relaxed. No one seems rushed. People browse. Talk. Observe. Enjoy the experience. Eventually, your own trading is complete. Several useful items now rest inside your basket. Perhaps a new tool. Perhaps extra cloth. Perhaps a small luxury purchased after months of saving. Whatever the items may be, they will soon become part of daily life back in the village. As afternoon approaches, many visitors begin preparing for the journey home. Boats are loaded. Donkeys are packed. Farewells are exchanged. The market slowly begins winding down. Its busiest hours have passed. You return to the riverbank. The Nile sparkles beneath the afternoon sun. Boats drift gently against their moorings. The journey home awaits. Before boarding, you pause for one final look. The market continues bustling behind you. Voices mingle in the warm air. Children laugh. Merchants smile. Friends exchange final greetings. It has been a good day. A memorable day. A reminder that even small villages are connected to something larger. You step aboard the boat. The rope is released. The current begins carrying you downstream. The market slowly fades into the distance. Its sounds becoming softer. Its colors blending into the landscape. Ahead lies home. The familiar village. The familiar fields. The familiar rhythm of life beside the Nile. And as the afternoon sun glitters upon the water, the boat carries you gently back toward another peaceful evening in ancient Egypt. The boat glides quietly along the Nile. The market now lies far behind. Its sounds have faded into memory. Ahead, the familiar shoreline of your village slowly comes into view. Palm trees sway in the afternoon breeze. The fields glow beneath the sunlight. The river continues its endless journey northward. Everything feels peaceful once again. Yet as you step onto the riverbank and begin walking home, you notice something unusual. The village feels different. Not busy. Not noisy. But expectant. As though everyone is quietly preparing for something special. And indeed they are. A temple festival is approaching. In ancient Egypt, festivals are among the most anticipated events of the year. They bring together families, neighbors, travelers, and entire communities. For a short time, the routines of daily life become softer. The work of the fields pauses. The village gathers. And people celebrate traditions that have existed for generations. Several days remain before the festival begins. Yet preparations are already underway. Women weave fresh decorations from palm leaves. Children collect flowers. Craftsmen repair ceremonial objects. Priests prepare the temple grounds. Everyone contributes in some way. Everyone looks forward to the celebration. As the days pass, excitement slowly grows. Conversations often return to the upcoming event. People discuss who will attend, which relatives might visit, what food will be prepared, what music will be played. The anticipation itself becomes part of the experience. Finally, the morning of the festival arrives. Long before sunrise, the village awakens. Lanterns glow softly in the darkness. Voices drift through the cool air. Families dress in their finest linen garments, freshly washed and carefully prepared. The atmosphere feels festive, yet respectful, joyful, yet calm. You step outside and gaze toward the eastern horizon. The sky is beginning to brighten. The first colors of dawn appear above the desert. Nearby, neighbors greet one another warmly. Children struggle to contain their excitement. Even the adults seem to smile more easily today. The temple stands a short distance from the village. As people begin walking toward it, the pathways gradually fill. Families travel together. Friends walk side by side. Visitors from neighboring communities join the procession. The closer you get to the temple, the larger the crowd becomes. The temple itself rises above the surrounding landscape. Its stone walls glow softly in the morning light. Painted decorations cover portions of the structure. Scenes of gods, pharaohs, sacred animals, stories preserved in color and stone. The building feels timeless, ancient, steady, like the Nile itself. As you approach the entrance, the scent of incense drifts through the air. Rich, warm, fragrant. The smoke rises in delicate curls, carried upward by the morning breeze. The smell immediately creates a feeling of ceremony. A feeling that this day is different from ordinary days. Inside the temple grounds, activity continues everywhere. Priests move carefully between sacred spaces. Musicians prepare their instruments. Families find places to gather. Children stare wide-eyed at the decorations. The atmosphere is filled with quiet excitement. One of the first sounds you notice is music. Soft at first, almost distant, then gradually stronger. The gentle tones of flutes drift across the courtyard. Soon they are joined by drums, and by the delicate rattling sound of sistrums. Ancient Egyptian musical instruments create a unique atmosphere. Their rhythms feel soothing, hypnotic, perfectly suited to a celebration beside the Nile. The musicians play slowly, steadily. The melodies seem to float through the warm air. People pause to listen. Some close their eyes briefly. allowing themselves to simply enjoy the moment. Children gather near the performers, watching every movement, fascinated by the instruments, the sounds, the spectacle. For many of them, festival days become cherished memories. Memories they will carry throughout their lives. As the morning progresses, more visitors arrive. The temple grounds become increasingly lively. Yet despite the growing crowd, everything remains orderly, respectful, peaceful. The festival is a celebration, but it is also a sacred occasion. People remember this, and their behavior reflects it. Throughout the day, offerings are brought to the temple. Bread, fruit, flowers, small gifts, simple acts of gratitude, simple expressions of faith. For ordinary Egyptians, religion is deeply woven into daily life. Not distant, not abstract, but present in the rhythms of every season, every harvest, every sunrise. Near the center of the temple complex, priests perform ceremonies. Many villagers watch quietly. Some offer prayers. Others simply observe. The details of the rituals may vary, but the purpose remains the same: to maintain harmony, to honor the gods, to express gratitude for the blessings of life beside the Nile. As the sun climbs higher, food begins appearing throughout the festival grounds. Families share meals together. Fresh bread, dates, figs, vegetables, fish. Simple foods enjoyed in good company. The smell of cooking drifts through the air, mixing with incense and flowers, creating a rich tapestry of scents. The hours pass pleasantly. Conversation flows easily. Laughter appears more frequently. Old friends reconnect. Relatives exchange stories. Children play games in open areas. The entire gathering feels warm and welcoming. By late afternoon, the sunlight begins to soften. The harsh brightness of midday fades. Golden light spreads across the temple walls. The stone seems to glow. Shadows lengthen across the courtyards. Everything becomes more beautiful, more peaceful, more dreamlike. As evening approaches, workers begin lighting lanterns. Small flames flicker to life one by one. Along pathways, near entrances, beside gathering spaces. Soon dozens of lights illuminate the temple grounds. Then hundreds. Their warm glow contrasts beautifully with the deepening blue sky. Children stare in wonder. Adults pause to admire the view. The temple now appears transformed. No longer merely a building, but a place of light. A place of gathering. A place of memory. The music continues into the evening. Gentle melodies drift beneath the stars. The lanterns shimmer softly. The scent of incense lingers in the air. The atmosphere becomes almost magical, as though time itself has slowed. You find a quiet place and sit for a while, watching, listening, breathing in the cool night air. The Nile flows nearby, invisible in the darkness, yet always present, always moving, always part of every celebration. Above, countless stars fill the sky. The same stars that watched over previous festivals. The same stars that will watch over future generations. For a moment, the connection feels profound. A reminder that life is made of small moments. Gatherings. Conversations. Shared experiences. Eventually, the festival begins drawing to a close. Families gather their belongings. Visitors prepare for the journey home. The music grows softer. The lanterns continue flickering. Yet the atmosphere remains peaceful. Content. Satisfied. You begin walking back toward the village. The path is illuminated by moonlight. The sounds of the festival fade behind you. Ahead lies home. A quiet house. A comfortable sleeping mat. And another peaceful night beside the Nile. The stars shine brightly overhead. The breeze carries the scent of palm trees. Somewhere in the distance, a night bird calls. The world feels calm. Balanced. Exactly as it should be. And beneath the timeless sky of ancient Egypt, the memories of the festival drift gently into the night. The temple festival has passed. The lanterns have been extinguished. The music has faded. Visitors have returned to their villages. And life beside the Nile has settled once again into its familiar rhythm. Days pass. Then weeks. The sun continues its steady journey across the Egyptian sky. The irrigation canals carry water through the fields. The crops grow taller, stronger, healthier. Almost without anyone noticing, the landscape begins to change. The green fields of planting season slowly become fields of gold. Harvest season is approaching. For an Egyptian farmer, harvest season is more than a time of work. It is the moment when an entire year's effort becomes visible. The reward for patience. The reward for preparation. The reward for trusting the Nile. Every seed planted months ago has been growing quietly beneath the sun. Now those seeds stand tall across the valley. Waiting. Ready. One morning before sunrise, you step outside your home. The air feels cool. The sky is still dark. Above you, countless stars sparkle over the sleeping village. For a few moments, everything remains silent. Then a faint glow appears in the east. The first hint of dawn. Another harvest day is about to begin. You begin walking toward the fields. The familiar pathway winds between mud brick homes and palm trees. Other farmers emerge from their houses. Some carry baskets. Others carry sickles. Everyone moves with quiet purpose. No one needs reminding of the importance of this season. The golden fields are waiting. As the sun rises, the valley reveals itself. The sight is breathtaking. Where green crops once stood, waves of gold now stretch across the landscape. The grain moves gently in the morning breeze. Like the surface of a calm sea. The entire valley seems to glow beneath the sunlight. You pause for a moment. Simply looking. Simply appreciating. This beauty exists because of countless small efforts. Planting. Watering. Repairing canals. Watching the weather. Protecting the crops. The harvest is not a single event. It is the result of many months of care. Birds fly low above the fields, searching for fallen grain. A few land among the stalks, then quickly take flight again. The morning feels alive, yet peaceful. The kind of peace that comes from honest work. Nearby, several oxen wait patiently beside wooden carts. Soon they will help transport harvested grain. Their large bodies cast long shadows across the field. The animals seem calm, almost aware that an important day has arrived. Farmers gather together. Some exchange greetings. Others inspect the grain carefully. The crops appear healthy, strong, ready. This year's harvest promises abundance. And that knowledge brings quiet satisfaction. The work begins. Simple sickles move through the grain. The sound is soft. A steady rustling. A gentle swishing. Again and again. The stalks fall into neat bundles. One row at a time. One section at a time. The rhythm quickly becomes familiar. Cut. Gather. Place. Repeat. Cut. Gather. Place. Repeat. The movements require attention. Yet they also create a strange sense of calm. The repetitive motion feels almost meditative. As the sun climbs higher, golden light spreads across the valley. Everywhere you look, the fields shimmer. The grain catches the sunlight beautifully, creating thousands of tiny flashes of gold. The landscape feels almost magical, like a painting brought to life. Children help where they can, carrying small bundles, fetching water, watching carefully. They understand that harvest season matters, even if they do not yet fully understand why. One day they will. One day they too will stand in these fields, watching the grain sway beneath the morning sun. The work continues steadily. Nobody rushes. Harvesting requires care. Every stalk matters. Every bundle matters. Food for the coming year depends upon what happens here. As the morning progresses, neat rows of harvested grain begin appearing throughout the fields. Small stacks at first. Then larger ones. Then entire sections covered with carefully arranged bundles. The results become visible quickly. And with each passing hour, the sense of accomplishment grows. A gentle breeze moves through the valley. The scent of ripe grain fills the air. Warm. Dry. Comforting. It is one of the most recognizable smells in ancient Egypt. A smell associated with success. With security. With survival. By late morning, the sunlight becomes stronger. The workers pause briefly beneath the shade of date palms. Bread is shared. Water is passed around. Conversations remain quiet. Relaxed. Everyone knows there is still much work ahead. But nobody seems discouraged. The harvest is progressing well. From the shade, you look back across the fields. The view is extraordinary. Golden grain stretches toward the horizon. Palm trees rise above the landscape. The Nile sparkles in the distance. And beyond everything lies the desert. Silent. Endless. A reminder of how precious this fertile valley truly is. After resting, the work resumes. The rhythm returns immediately. Cut. Gather. Place. Repeat. The sounds of harvest once again fill the valley. The rustle of grain. The footsteps of workers. The occasional call of a bird overhead. Together they create a peaceful soundtrack. One heard by Egyptian farmers for thousands of years. As afternoon approaches, carts begin carrying harvested grain toward storage areas. The oxen move slowly but steadily. Their wheels leave tracks in the soil. Dust rises softly behind them. The journey continues again and again throughout the day. Each cartload represents security. Food for families. Food for livestock. Food for the future. The sight of grain entering storage brings comfort. A deep sense of reassurance. The kind that cannot easily be described. Granaries gradually begin to fill. Their interiors grow crowded with carefully stored grain. The smell becomes stronger. Warm. Dry. Earthy. A smell that promises stability during the months ahead. As the afternoon light softens, long shadows stretch across the fields. The heat begins to fade. The most difficult part of the day is over. Yet the work continues. Harvest season waits for no one. Every hour matters. You stop for a moment and watch the sun slowly lowering toward the west. Its golden light now matches the color of the grain. Field and sky seem connected, both glowing with the same warm radiance. It is a beautiful sight, one that never grows old. Nearby, an elderly farmer pauses as well. His face carries the marks of many harvests, many years, many seasons. Yet he still smiles at the sight of golden fields beneath the setting sun. Some things remain meaningful no matter how many times they are experienced. The final hours of daylight pass peacefully. More grain is gathered. More carts are filled. More storage areas are supplied. The village works together. Just as it always has. Just as it always will. Eventually, the sun reaches the horizon. The sky turns orange. Then red. Then purple. The harvest day comes to an end. Workers begin returning home. Their bodies are tired. But their spirits are light. The fields have been generous. The Nile has been generous. The year has been generous. You take one last look across the valley. The golden fields glow softly beneath the fading light. Birds settle into the trees. The breeze grows cooler. Night approaches. Tomorrow the harvest will continue. And the day after that. And perhaps many days after. But tonight, there is satisfaction. The quiet satisfaction that comes from seeing the results of patience and effort. And as darkness settles gently across the Nile Valley, and the stars begin appearing one by one above the fields of gold, another peaceful harvest day draws to a close in ancient Egypt. The harvest continues for many days. Each morning begins before sunrise. Each evening ends beneath a sky full of stars. The golden fields gradually become shorter as more grain is gathered. The granaries grow fuller. The village grows more confident, more secure. The hard work of the year is finally paying off. Yet every Egyptian farmer knows that harvest season brings something else as well. Something expected. Something unavoidable. The arrival of the scribes. One cool morning, long before the heat of the day arrives, you are walking toward the fields when you notice unusual activity near the river. Several boats have appeared along the shoreline. They are larger than most fishing boats. Their sails hang quietly in the morning air. Villagers pause to look. Some nod knowingly. Others point them out to children. Everyone understands what these boats mean. The officials have arrived. The news spreads quickly through the village. Not through shouting. Not through excitement. Simply through conversation. A neighbor mentions it to another neighbor. A farmer speaks quietly with a friend. Within an hour, nearly everyone knows. The scribes are here to measure the harvest. Ancient Egypt depends upon records. The kingdom stretches for hundreds of miles along the Nile. Thousands of villages. Thousands of fields. Millions of bushels of grain. Keeping track of all this information requires skilled people. People who can read. People who can write. People trained to record details accurately. Those people are the scribes. For many villagers, scribes seem almost mysterious. Most farmers cannot read hieroglyphs. Most craftsmen cannot write official documents. But scribes can. Their skills are unusual, respected, important. Because of this, scribes hold a special place in Egyptian society. Later that morning, you finally see them. Several officials walk through the village pathways. Their linen garments are clean and neatly arranged. One carries rolled sheets of papyrus. Another carries a wooden writing palette. Small containers of black and red ink rest inside. Reed pens are carefully stored nearby. Everything has its place. Everything is organized. The scribes move calmly, without hurry, without arrogance. Their work requires attention, accuracy, patience, much like farming itself. As they pass through the village, children often stare. Some follow at a distance, curious, interested. The sight of written symbols fascinates them. The ability to transform spoken words into marks on papyrus seems almost magical. One young boy watches particularly closely. His eyes never leave the writing palette. Perhaps one day he will become a scribe himself. Perhaps he will spend his life recording harvests and river levels instead of planting crops. No one knows. The future remains unwritten. The officials eventually reach the fields. The harvest is nearly complete. Bundles of grain stand in carefully arranged stacks. Carts move between fields and storage areas. The entire landscape reflects months of work. Months of preparation. Months of patience. One scribe unrolls a sheet of papyrus. The material catches the sunlight. Smooth. Pale. Ready to receive information. He dips a reed pen into ink. Then begins writing. Quick movements. Confident movements. Symbols appear across the surface. Each one carrying meaning. Each one preserving information. Nearby, assistants measure grain. They count bundles. Estimate yields. Record totals. The process is systematic. Orderly. Careful. Nothing is left to guesswork. You watch for a while. The work is surprisingly quiet. No dramatic speeches. No arguments. Just measurements. Calculations. Observations. The steady administrative heartbeat of ancient Egypt. The scribes move from field to field. Farm to farm. Storage area to storage area. Everywhere they go, records are created. A written picture of the harvest slowly emerges. A picture built from thousands of observations. Thousands of numbers. Thousands of details. The importance of these records cannot be overstated. The kingdom relies upon them. Officials need to know how much grain has been produced. How much can be stored? How much can be distributed? Accurate records help maintain stability throughout the land. As the morning progresses, the sun climbs higher. The air grows warmer. Yet the scribes continue their work. Patiently. Methodically. Their focus rarely wavers. Years of training have taught them discipline, precision, attention to detail. One older scribe pauses briefly beneath the shade of a palm tree. For a moment, he rests, watching the fields, listening to the breeze. Perhaps he remembers previous harvests, previous villages, previous seasons spent traveling along the Nile. His work may differ from farming, yet he too lives according to the rhythms of Egypt. Nearby, farmers continue loading grain into carts. The harvest does not stop simply because measurements are taking place. Life continues. The work continues. The cycle continues. As midday approaches, several officials gather near a storage building. Bundles of grain have been stacked neatly inside. The smell fills the air. Warm, dry, earthy. A scent associated with abundance, with security, with preparation for the future. The scribes carefully record the contents, each entry added to a growing collection of records. One day these documents may be stored in a distant administrative center, filed among thousands of others. Together they will tell the story of an entire kingdom, a kingdom sustained by the Nile, and by the farmers who work beside it. Children continue watching whenever possible. The sight of writing never seems to lose its fascination. Some attempt copying symbols in the dirt with small sticks. Most of their efforts look nothing like real hieroglyphs. But that hardly matters. Learning often begins with imitation, with curiosity, with wonder. The afternoon light softens slightly. The busiest part of the day has passed. Measurements are nearly complete. The officials review their notes, double-checking important details, ensuring accuracy. A good scribe takes pride in careful work, just as a farmer takes pride in a successful harvest. Eventually, the papyrus scrolls are rolled closed. The writing tools are packed away. The officials prepare to leave. Their work in this village is finished. Tomorrow another community will require attention. Another harvest will be measured. Another set of records will be created. The boats wait quietly along the riverbank. The Nile glitters beneath the afternoon sun. A gentle breeze moves across the water. The sails flutter softly. One by one, the officials board the vessels. Ropes are untied. Poles push against the riverbed. Slowly the boats begin drifting away from shore. The current carries them northward, toward their next destination. Villagers watch for a few moments, then gradually return to their normal activities. The visit has ended. Life resumes its familiar rhythm. Fields, families, meals, conversations. The ordinary routines that make up daily life. As evening approaches, you stand beside the Nile and watch the sunlight dance across the water. The scribes are gone now. Only distant sails remain visible on the horizon. The harvest has been measured. The records have been written. Another chapter of the year is complete. The river continues flowing. The birds continue singing. The palm trees continue swaying in the breeze. And beneath the warm glow of the setting sun, ancient Egypt carries on exactly as it has for generations. Steady, orderly, timeless. The harvest has been gathered. The scribes have recorded their measurements. The boats of the officials have disappeared into the distance. Life in the village returns to its familiar pace. The Nile continues flowing quietly past the riverbank. The fields rest after months of hard work. The evenings grow cooler. And for many families, this is the perfect time to focus on something important. Their homes. In ancient Egypt, a home is more than a building. It is a place of shelter. A place of family. A place where stories are told. Meals are shared. Children grow. And memories are made. Most villagers do not live in grand stone houses. They do not live in palaces. Instead, they live in homes made from one of the most common materials in the Nile Valley. Mud. At first, that might sound surprising. But along the Nile, mud is a treasure. Every year the flood leaves behind rich black soil. The same soil that grows crops can also become bricks. And those bricks can become homes. Simple. Practical. Comfortable. Perfectly suited to life in Egypt. One morning, word spreads through the village. A young family is preparing to build a new home. Their existing house has become too small. Children have grown. Relatives visit often. More space is needed. As is often the case in village life, neighbors quickly offer their help. Building a home is rarely a task for one family alone. It is a community effort. You join several villagers as they walk toward a stretch of land near the river. The location has already been chosen. The ground is level. The area is safe from seasonal flooding. And there is enough room for a modest house. The future home exists only in imagination for now. But soon that will change. The first task is gathering mud. Several men and women work beside the Nile. They collect rich soil from the riverbank. Dark. Smooth. Heavy with moisture. The mud is piled into large heaps. Nearby, bundles of straw wait to be mixed in. The straw serves an important purpose. Without it, dried mud bricks might crack. The fibers help strengthen the material, giving it durability, giving it resilience. Ancient Egyptians have used this technique for countless generations. Experience has taught them what works and what does not. Water is added to the mixture. Then comes the hard work. Feet step into the mud, slowly kneading it together, mixing soil, straw, and water into a thick paste. Children nearby laugh as adults work. The scene is messy, but cheerful. The mud squeezes between toes. The mixture slowly becomes smooth and consistent. Ready for the next stage. Wooden molds are placed on the ground. Each mold will create a brick. The process is straightforward. A worker fills the mold with wet mud, presses it firmly into the corners, smooths the top, then lifts the mold away. A perfect brick remains behind. Again, and again, and again. The process repeats. Each brick joins dozens of others, then hundreds. Rows begin forming beneath the sun. Neat rows. Orderly rows. Future walls waiting to be born. The Egyptian climate helps greatly. The hot sun performs much of the work. Day after day, the bricks dry. Their surfaces harden. Their color changes slightly. The transformation happens gradually, almost invisibly. Yet with each passing day, the bricks become stronger, more useful, more permanent. While the bricks dry, preparations continue elsewhere. The future homeowners discuss the layout, where the entrance should be, where food will be stored, where family members will sleep. These decisions matter. A well-designed home can remain comfortable for many years. Several older villagers offer advice. They have built homes before, many times. Their experience is valuable. They know how to position walls to catch cooling breezes, how thick the walls should be, where shade will fall during the hottest hours of the day. Knowledge passed down through generations continues shaping the village. Eventually, the bricks are ready. The building process begins. Early one morning, villagers gather once again. The atmosphere feels almost festive. Everyone enjoys seeing a new home take shape. Everyone enjoys helping. The foundation is prepared carefully. Then the first row of bricks is placed, one by one, each brick resting upon a layer of wet mud mortar. The workers move steadily, without rushing, without wasting effort. As the morning progresses, the walls begin rising. At first they are low, barely reaching knee height, then waist height, then higher still. The shape of the house gradually becomes visible. Rooms begin to emerge. Doorways appear. Windows take form. Children run around the construction site pretending to be builders. They carry tiny pieces of dried mud, offer enthusiastic suggestions, and imagine what the finished house will look like. Their excitement is contagious. Even adults find themselves smiling more often. By midday, the sun stands high overhead. Workers pause beneath the shade of palm trees. Bread is shared. Water is passed around. Conversations drift lazily through the warm air. The atmosphere remains relaxed. There is still much work to do. But progress is visible. And visible progress always feels satisfying. After the break, construction resumes. Wooden beams are brought forward. These will support the roof. Good wood is precious in Egypt. Every beam is handled carefully. Every piece has value. Nothing is wasted. The beams are lifted into place. Slowly. Carefully. The structure begins feeling more complete. More substantial. More like a home. Reeds are placed across the beams. Additional layers of mud cover the reeds. Gradually a roof takes shape. Providing shade. Providing protection. Providing comfort. As afternoon sunlight washes across the village, the nearly completed home stands proudly against the sky. Its walls glow softly in the golden light. The fresh mud brick seems almost alive. Still warm from the sun. Still carrying the scent of the riverbank from which it came. You step inside for a moment. The interior feels cool. Surprisingly cool. The thick mud brick walls block much of the heat, creating a pleasant refuge from the Egyptian sun. This simple technology has served generations well. Outside, neighbors continue working together. Small details remain unfinished. A doorway must be strengthened. Storage space is prepared. Final repairs completed. Yet the hardest work is finished. The home now stands. Solid. Useful. Ready to welcome a family. As evening approaches, everyone pauses to admire the result. What began as mud beside the Nile has become shelter. What began as raw materials has become a place where life will unfold. Meals will be eaten here. Children will grow here. Stories will be shared here. Years from now, memories will fill these rooms. The setting sun paints the walls with warm shades of gold and orange. Palm trees sway gently nearby. Birds settle into their nests. The village grows quieter. The family thanks their neighbors. The neighbors smile. No payment is expected. Because one day another family will need help. And the village will gather once again. This is how communities endure. This is how villages thrive. Through cooperation. Through generosity. Through shared effort. The first stars begin appearing overhead. The new home stands ready beneath the evening sky. Strong. Simple. Beautiful in its own way. A small piece of ancient Egypt. Built by many hands. Built with patience. Built with care. And as darkness settles gently across the Nile Valley, and the cool evening breeze moves through the palm trees, Another family prepares to begin a new chapter of life beside the timeless river. The new home now stands quietly beneath the Egyptian sky. Its mud brick walls glow softly in the morning sunlight. The family who will live there is already beginning to settle into their new routines. Life in the village continues. As it always does. The Nile flows steadily beyond the fields. Palm trees sway in the warm breeze. Birds sing from the reeds. And another peaceful day begins in ancient Egypt. Today, your attention turns toward the animals. The loyal companions of village life. The creatures that help farmers work the land. Carry heavy loads. Provide food. And share daily life beside the Nile. To an Egyptian farmer, animals are not distant parts of the landscape. They are part of the community itself. Long before sunrise, faint sounds begin drifting through the darkness. A donkey shifts its weight. A goat bleats softly. Chickens rustle inside their enclosure. The village is slowly waking. And so are the animals. You step outside into the cool air of dawn. The eastern horizon glows faintly. The stars are beginning to fade. A light mist hangs above parts of the river. The world feels calm. Almost dreamlike. For a few moments, everything is still. Then the day begins. Your first stop is the animal enclosure beside your home. Several goats are already waiting. They recognize the sound of approaching footsteps. Their ears perk up. A few step forward expectantly. They know breakfast is coming. You open the gate carefully. The goats move out into the morning light. Not rushing. Not panicking. Simply following a familiar routine. One repeated every day. One repeated for years. Goats are among the most useful animals in the village. They provide milk. They provide hides. And they can thrive in conditions that challenge many other animals. Their appetites seem endless. They happily nibble leaves, grass, shrubs, almost anything green. Several children help guide the goats toward a grazing area. The younger animals bounce energetically through the grass. The older ones move more slowly, more confidently, as though they already know exactly where they are going. Nearby, chickens scratch at the ground. Their search for food never seems to end. They investigate every corner, every stone, every patch of dirt. Constantly searching. Constantly exploring. The chickens provide eggs. A valuable addition to village meals. Children often enjoy collecting them. The task feels important. And it is. Every egg contributes to the family's well-being. A rooster suddenly announces the arrival of morning. Its call echoes across the village. Several other roosters answer. For a moment, the air is filled with their voices. Then silence returns once again. Not far from the village center stand the cattle. Large, strong, patient. Among all the animals of ancient Egypt, cattle are perhaps the most respected. They represent wealth, security, stability. Families who own healthy cattle are often considered fortunate. You approach one of the oxen slowly. Its broad shoulders rise and fall with each breath. The animal watches calmly. Its eyes reflect quiet intelligence. Years of working beside humans have created a deep familiarity. A partnership built on trust. Soon the oxen will help in the fields, pulling plows, transporting grain, carrying heavy loads. Their strength makes many agricultural tasks possible. Without them, farming would be far more difficult. The morning sun climbs higher. Golden light spreads across the landscape. The cattle begin moving toward a nearby grazing area. Their pace is slow, unhurried, almost peaceful. Dust rises gently beneath their hooves. You follow for a while. The path winds beside irrigation canals and open fields. Birds flutter overhead. The scent of fresh grass fills the air. Everything feels relaxed, natural, balanced. A shepherd stands nearby watching a small flock of sheep. His wooden staff rests comfortably in his hands. The sheep graze quietly, moving together as a group. Occasionally one wanders too far. The shepherd gently guides it back. No shouting, no rushing, only patience. Patience is one of the most valuable qualities in village life. Animals respond to calm behavior. Fields respond to steady effort. Families thrive through consistency. Everything important requires time. As the morning continues, the animals spread across the landscape. Goats browse among shrubs. Sheep graze on open grass. Cattle move through larger pastures. Each species follows its own habits, its own routines, its own pace. Children often accompany adults during these tasks. They learn by observing how to guide animals, how to recognize illness, how to understand behavior. Knowledge passes naturally from one generation to the next, just as it has for centuries. The Nile itself plays an important role in animal care. Fresh water is essential. Every creature depends upon it. The river sustains crops, and the crops sustain livestock. Everything remains connected. By midday, the Egyptian sun becomes powerful. The heat settles across the valley. Animals seek shade beneath palm trees. Farmers do the same. The pace of life slows. The hottest hours are not meant for rushing. They are meant for patience, for conservation of energy, for quiet rest. You sit beneath a tree and watch the cattle resting nearby. Some chew lazily. Others simply stand in the shade. A gentle breeze moves through the leaves above. The scene feels timeless, as though it could belong to any century, any generation. The afternoon passes slowly, peacefully. The animals continue grazing. The shepherd remains watchful. Birds drift through the sky. The Nile sparkles in the distance. The valley seems wrapped in calm. Eventually, the sun begins its descent toward the west. The harsh heat fades. Long shadows stretch across the ground. The most pleasant part of the day returns. One by one, the animals are guided back toward the village. The journey home feels familiar, comfortable, predictable. Dust rises softly behind the herd. Children walk alongside goats. Dogs circle occasionally, helping maintain order. As the village comes into view, the atmosphere changes. Cooking fires begin appearing. The scent of bread drifts through the air. Families prepare for evening meals. The day is slowly winding down. The animals return to their enclosures. Water is provided. Final checks are made. Everyone settles into place. The routines completed. The responsibilities fulfilled. You pause beside the cattle enclosure and watch the animals rest. Their breathing is slow, steady, peaceful. The same could be said of the village itself. The same could be said of the Nile. Everything feels calm. Everything feels balanced. Above, the sky turns orange. Then gold. Then shades of deep purple. Birds return to their nests. The first stars appear. Another day is ending. And as darkness settles gently across the fertile valley, and the sounds of the animals grow quieter, and the Nile continues its eternal journey beneath the moonlight, life beside the river moves peacefully into another night. The village sleeps peacefully beneath a sky full of stars. The animals rest quietly in their enclosures. The fields lie silent beneath the moonlight. And beyond everything, the Nile continues its eternal journey, flowing northward. Hour after hour. Night after night. Year after year. The river never stops. The river never rests. And tomorrow, for the first time in many months, you will spend an entire day traveling upon its waters. Long before sunrise, you awaken. The village remains dark. Most people are still asleep. The air feels cool and fresh. A pleasant contrast to the heat that will arrive later. Outside, the stars still fill the heavens. The moon hangs low above the western horizon. Its reflection shimmers softly upon the river. The sight is beautiful, peaceful, almost dreamlike. You gather a few supplies. A small basket of bread. Several dates. A water container. Nothing more is needed. The journey is not dangerous. nor especially difficult. But it will be long. And there is something comforting about carrying food prepared at home. The path toward the riverbank feels familiar beneath your feet. You have walked it countless times. Yet today feels different. Today the river is not simply part of the landscape. Today it is your road, your pathway, your companion. As you approach the shore, the boat comes into view. It waits quietly in the darkness. A simple vessel, built from wood, weathered by years of use. Its hull reflects the faint light of the stars. The sail hangs motionless, waiting for the morning breeze. Several other travelers have already arrived. A merchant carrying linen cloth. An elderly farmer visiting relatives. A fisherman hoping to trade part of his catch. Each has a different reason for traveling. Yet all will share the same river. The same journey. The eastern horizon begins to brighten. Slowly. Almost imperceptibly. The first signs of dawn spread across the sky. Deep blue becomes pale blue. Pale blue becomes silver. Silver becomes gold. Another day is beginning beside the Nile. A rope is untied. A wooden pole pushes gently against the riverbed. The boat drifts away from the shore. At first, movement is barely noticeable. Then the distance grows. The village slowly recedes behind you. The journey has begun. The river feels different from the land. Calmer. Smoother. The boat glides effortlessly across the water. The gentle rocking creates a soothing rhythm. Forward. Forward. Always forward. Birds begin appearing as the sun rises. White egrets stand motionless among the reeds. Herons stalk patiently through shallow water. A kingfisher flashes brilliant color as it dives toward the surface. Nature awakens alongside the river. The first sunlight touches the Nile. Instantly the water transforms. The surface glows like polished gold. Tiny ripples catch the light, creating countless sparkling reflections. The entire river seems alive with light. A gentle breeze arrives. The sail unfurls. Cloth stretches against the wind. The boat gains speed. Not fast. Never fast. Just steady. Comfortable. The perfect pace for observing the world around you. The shoreline drifts by slowly. Palm groves. Fields of grain. Mud brick villages. Small fishing docks. Each scene appears briefly, then fades behind the boat, replaced by another, and another, and another. Hours pass pleasantly. No one seems concerned about time. Ancient Egyptians do not carry clocks. The sun provides all the information they need. The pace of life remains connected to nature. Not schedules. Not deadlines. Nature. Ahead, another vessel appears. Its white sail gleams beneath the sunlight. As it approaches, the travelers exchange greetings. News travels along the river. Information moves from boat to boat, village to village, community to community. The Nile carries stories just as easily as it carries people. The boats pass one another. Voices fade. Silence returns. Only the sound of water remains. Soft waves against wood. The occasional creak of rope. The rustle of the sail. Together they create a peaceful soundtrack. One heard by travelers for thousands of years. By mid-morning, the river widens. The landscape opens. The sky feels enormous. Blue from horizon to horizon. A few distant clouds drift lazily overhead. Their reflections move across the water. Almost perfectly mirrored. You sit quietly and watch. There is no need to hurry. No urgent destination. Only the journey itself. Only the beauty of the river. Only the gentle movement of the boat. Near one bend in the Nile, fishermen work from smaller vessels. Their nets spread across the water. Carefully arranged. Patiently managed. Fishing requires observation. Timing. Experience. The same qualities valued by farmers. One fisherman pulls in his net. Silver fish flash beneath the sunlight. The catch appears successful. Satisfied smiles spread across the boat. The river has been generous today. As noon approaches, the heat increases. The breeze remains pleasant. But the sun now dominates the sky. Travelers seek shade where possible. A cloth canopy provides some relief. Bread and dates are shared. Water is passed around. Conversations remain quiet. Relaxed. Easy. Far ahead, something appears on the horizon. At first it looks like a distant hill. Then gradually its shape becomes clearer. A temple. Standing proudly beside the river. Its stone walls rise above the surrounding landscape. Visible from many miles away. Temples often serve as landmarks for travelers. Guiding boats. Marking important locations. Providing reassurance that the journey continues in the right direction. As the boat draws closer, details become visible. Columns. Statues. Painted surfaces glowing beneath the sunlight. The temple reflects upon the river, creating a second image beneath the water. For a moment, it seems as though two temples exist. One above. One below. The boat passes quietly. The temple slowly drifts behind. Its reflection breaks apart upon the ripples. Soon only the memory remains. The afternoon unfolds peacefully. More villages appear. More boats pass. More birds circle overhead. The rhythm of river travel continues. Steady. predictable, comforting. The Nile seems endless, yet never repetitive. Every bend reveals something new. A fisherman, a flock of birds, a cluster of palm trees, a distant field glowing beneath the sun. Small details, quiet details, the details that make a journey memorable. As the sun begins lowering toward the west, the light changes. Everything becomes softer, warmer, golden. The river shines like molten metal. The shoreline glows. Even the reeds seem illuminated from within. The travelers grow quieter. The beauty of the evening encourages reflection. Conversation fades. Observation replaces words. Everyone watches the landscape. Everyone appreciates the moment. Eventually, the destination appears ahead. A small settlement beside the river. Smoke rises from cooking fires. Children play near the shore. Boats rest against wooden docks. The journey is nearing its end. The sail is lowered. The boat slows gradually. The shoreline approaches. Water laps softly against the hull. A rope is thrown. The vessel comes to rest. You step onto solid ground once more. The earth feels strangely different after a day upon the river. More stable. Less fluid. Yet part of you already misses the boat. Misses the movement. Misses the calm rhythm of the Nile. The sun touches the horizon. The sky burns with shades of gold and orange. Birds fly homeward. The river reflects the fading light. Another journey has ended. And as evening settles gently across the Nile Valley, and the first stars begin appearing above the water, the timeless river continues flowing through the heart of Egypt. Just as it always has. And just as it always will. He is over. The boat has been tied securely beside the shore. The travelers have gone their separate ways. The day's adventures are slowly becoming memories. Now the sun hangs low above the western horizon. Its golden light washes across the Nile Valley. Long shadows stretch across the fields. Palm trees glow softly in the evening light. And throughout the village, families begin preparing for the most peaceful part of the day. The evening meal. There is something special about sunset in ancient Egypt. The heat begins to fade. The air becomes cooler. The pace of life slows. The hardest work is finished. For a little while, responsibilities can wait. The evening belongs to family. To conversation. To rest. You walk slowly toward your home. The familiar pathway winds between mud brick houses. The walls shine with warm golden color beneath the setting sun. Children run through the village lanes. Their laughter drifts through the air. Nearby, several goats return to their enclosure. A donkey shakes its head and settles down for the evening. The entire village feels relaxed, comfortable, at peace. As you approach your home, a familiar scent reaches you. Fresh bread, warm from the oven. The smell instantly creates a feeling of comfort, a feeling of belonging, a feeling of home. For thousands of years, people have experienced this same sensation. The smell of bread baking at sunset. Simple, yet deeply satisfying. A clay oven stands beside the house. Its outer surface still radiates warmth. Earlier in the afternoon, dough was prepared carefully. Flour, water, salt. Nothing complicated. Nothing extravagant. Yet the result is one of the most important foods in Egyptian life. Nearby, a pot simmers gently over a small fire. Vegetables cook slowly inside. Onions, beans, lentils. Simple ingredients transformed into a nourishing meal. The aroma drifts into the evening air, mixing with the scent of bread, creating a fragrance that fills the entire courtyard. The sky continues changing color. Orange becomes amber. Amber becomes rose. Rose becomes deep purple. The transformation happens slowly, almost too slowly to notice. Yet every few minutes the world looks slightly different. Slightly softer. Slightly more beautiful. Family members begin gathering. Children arrive first. Still energetic from the day's adventures. Still eager to share stories. Adults follow, taking their places on woven mats. The atmosphere feels warm, welcoming, relaxed. Meals in ancient Egypt are often communal experiences. People eat together, talk together, reflect together. Food nourishes the body, but conversation nourishes relationships. And relationships are among the most valuable things in village life. One child excitedly described seeing a kingfisher near the river. Another talks about helping collect eggs earlier in the day. Their stories are simple, yet everyone listens. Small moments matter. Small experiences become memories. And memories help bind families together. The bread is finally ready. Golden brown. Warm. Fragrant. A basket is placed in the center of the gathering. Steam rises gently into the cool evening air. For a moment, nobody speaks. Everyone simply enjoys the smell. You tear off a piece. The crust crackles softly. The inside remains warm and tender. The flavor is plain, yet wonderful. Sometimes the simplest foods are the most satisfying, especially after a long day. As dinner continues, the village grows quieter. The sounds of work have disappeared. No more hammering. No more plowing. No more carts moving through the fields. Only the gentle sounds of evening remain. Conversation. Bird song. The distant flow of the Nile. A breeze arrives from the river. It moves through the palm leaves, creating a soft rustling sound. The same sound heard by countless generations before. The same sound that will be heard by countless generations after. Some sounds seem eternal. As darkness gradually approaches, small oil lamps are lit. Their flames flicker gently. Golden circles of light appear around the courtyard. The shadows dance across the walls, creating a cozy atmosphere. A peaceful atmosphere. The youngest children begin growing sleepy. Their voices become quieter. Their movements slower. The long day has finally caught up with them. One leans against a parent. Another yawns. A third struggles to keep tired eyes open. Nearby, an elderly grandparent begins telling a story. The children immediately pay attention. Stories are one of the great treasures of village life. Long before books become common, stories preserve knowledge. History. Lessons. Dreams. The storyteller's voice remains calm and gentle. Perfect for the evening. Perfect for this moment. The children listen carefully. Even the adults enjoy hearing familiar tales once again. Some stories never grow old. Above, the first stars appear. Tiny points of light scattered across the darkening sky. One by one they emerge. Then dozens. Then hundreds. The heavens slowly reveal themselves. The Milky Way begins stretching across the night. Like a pale river flowing through the stars. Ancient Egyptians often gaze upward in wonder. The night sky feels vast. Mysterious. Beautiful. A reminder that the world is larger than any village. Larger than any field. Larger than any single life. The meal eventually comes to an end. The bread basket is nearly empty. The cooking pot has been shared. The conversation grows quieter. The atmosphere becomes more reflective. More peaceful. You lean back and look toward the Nile. Moonlight now touches the water. The river glows softly in the darkness. The sight is familiar. Comforting. Reassuring. No matter what happens, the Nile continues flowing. The river remains. The evening deepens. Crickets begin singing. Palm leaves continue whispering in the breeze. The oil lamps flicker gently. The village settles into a slower rhythm. Preparing for sleep. Preparing for another day tomorrow. Yet for now, there is no need to think about tomorrow. No need to think about work. Or responsibilities. Or plans. Only this moment matters. This quiet evening beside family. This peaceful meal beneath the stars. This simple happiness. The air grows cooler. The children drift toward sleep. The adults speak more softly. The world seems wrapped in calm, wrapped in stillness, wrapped in peace. And as the moon rises above the Nile, and the last warmth of sunset fades from the valley, another beautiful evening comes to an end in ancient Egypt. A reminder that the richest moments in life are often the simplest ones. A shared meal, a familiar story, a gentle breeze, and the company of those we love. The storyteller's voice grows softer, slower, almost as though he too feels the pull of sleep. The stories become less dramatic, more thoughtful, more reflective. One final tale speaks of generations, of how children become adults, how adults become elders, how elders pass their knowledge to those who follow. The Nile remains. The stars remain. Yet each generation experiences them differently, adding new memories, new stories, new chapters to an endless history. The listeners sit quietly, absorbing the message, thinking about family, thinking about time, thinking about the countless people who lived before them, and the countless people who will come after. Eventually, the storyteller falls silent. No one speaks immediately. The night itself seems worthy of listening to. Crickets sing. Palm leaves rustle. The river flows. The stars shine. The world feels perfectly balanced, perfectly calm. One by one, families begin returning home. Children are carried gently through the darkness. Oil lamps flicker along village pathways. Doors close softly. Voices fade. The village settles toward sleep. The fire finally burns down to glowing embers, then to ash. The stories linger in memory. Their lessons remain. Their comfort remains. Above, the Milky Way stretches across the heavens. A river of stars above the river of water below. Both ancient, both beautiful, both eternal. And as the final sounds of the evening disappear into the night, and the Nile continues flowing beneath the moonlight, the people of the village drift peacefully toward sleep, carrying with them the stories of generations, the stories of Egypt, the stories of life beside the timeless river. The stories have ended. The last embers of the fire glow softly in the darkness. Families have returned to their homes. Children sleep beneath woven blankets. The village grows quiet. Very quiet. Not silent, but filled with the gentle sounds that belong only to the night. Above the Nile Valley, the stars shine brilliantly. Without lamps or city lights to compete with them, the heavens appear endless. Thousands upon thousands of points of light stretch across the darkness. The Milky Way arches overhead, a luminous river flowing across the sky. Below it, another river flows. The Nile. Ancient. Patient. eternal. You step outside your home for a few moments before sleep. The air feels cool against your skin. A pleasant relief after the warmth of the day. The scent of damp earth drifts from the riverbank. Palm trees sway gently. Their leaves whisper softly in the breeze. The sound is delicate, almost like distant voices sharing secrets. The moon hangs above the eastern horizon. Large, bright, silver. Its light washes across the landscape. The rooftops of the village glow softly. The pathways become pale ribbons winding through the darkness. Every familiar place seems transformed beneath the moonlight. You begin walking slowly toward the Nile. The path feels different at night. More mysterious. More peaceful. The daytime sounds have vanished. No carts. No farmers working in fields. No children playing. Only the quiet rhythm of the sleeping world. As you approach the riverbank, the Nile appears before you. Moonlight dances upon its surface. Tiny ripples catch the light and scatter it in every direction. The water looks almost alive. A moving mirror reflecting the heavens above. You pause and simply watch. There is no hurry. No destination. No task waiting to be completed. Only the river. Only the night. Only this moment. A fish breaks the surface briefly. A small splash. A circle of ripples. Then stillness once again. The river returns to its steady rhythm. The same rhythm it has followed for thousands of years. Nearby, reeds grow thick along the shoreline. The breeze moves through them gently, creating a soft rustling sound. The reeds bend, then straighten, then bend again. Their motion seems almost hypnotic. A natural lullaby composed by wind and water. Somewhere deeper among the reeds, a frog begins calling. Another answers. Then another. The sounds echo softly across the water. Never loud. Never disturbing. Simply part of the night. Part of the landscape. Part of life beside the Nile. A heron stands motionless near the shore. Its pale feathers glow beneath the moonlight. The bird waits patiently, watching the water, listening, perfectly still. For several moments, it appears more like a statue than a living creature. Far in the distance, a small fishing boat moves slowly along the river. Its silhouette passes across the moonlit water. A lantern glows near the bow. A tiny point of golden light surrounded by silver reflections. The scene feels timeless, as though it could belong to any century, any generation. The boat drifts quietly through the darkness. Its occupants speak in low voices, too distant to understand. Soon even those voices disappear, leaving only the sound of the river. You sit upon a smooth patch of ground near the shore. The earth still holds a little warmth from the day. Above you, the stars continue shining. Ancient Egyptians often spent time studying the night sky. The stars help mark the seasons, guide travelers, and inspire stories. One particularly bright star catches your attention. Its reflection trembles upon the river. The star remains fixed in the heavens. The reflection dances endlessly upon the water. A simple difference, yet somehow beautiful. Hours seem to move differently at night. Slower, softer, more gently. The world feels less concerned with work and responsibilities, more focused on stillness, more focused on rest. A cool breeze arrives from the north. The reeds respond immediately. Palm leaves rustle overhead. The water surface shivers with tiny waves. The entire landscape seems to breathe together. You close your eyes for a moment. Listening. Only listening. The river. The reeds. The frogs. The distant insects. The whispering breeze. The soft movement of water against the shore. Each sound distinct, yet perfectly balanced. Together they create a peaceful symphony. A symphony heard by Egyptian farmers for countless generations. Perhaps somewhere nearby, another villager stands beneath the stars, listening to the same sounds, watching the same moon, feeling the same breeze. The experience is shared, even in solitude. The night deepens. The moon climbs higher. The village grows even quieter. Most people are asleep now, dreaming, resting, preparing for another day. A jackal calls from far beyond the fields. The sound drifts across the darkness. Mysterious. Ancient. Then silence returns once more. The Nile remains calm. Untroubled. Steady. You look across the water toward the opposite bank. The desert lies beyond, invisible in the darkness, yet present, waiting. The contrast between fertile valley and endless desert defines life in Egypt. Water and sand, growth and stillness, life and silence. The river exists between those worlds, connecting them, balancing them, just as it has always done. The stars continue their slow movement across the heavens. 1 hour passes, then another. The night remains beautiful, unchanged, peaceful. Eventually, you rise and begin walking back toward the village. The path glows softly beneath the moonlight. Your footsteps are quiet. The sleeping homes seem almost dreamlike. Small islands of shelter beneath the vast sky. At your doorway, you pause one final time. The Nile remains visible in the distance. Silver beneath the moon. A ribbon of light crossing the darkness. A companion through every season of life. You step inside. The cool mud brick walls welcome you.